Okay. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon and happy Social Justice Day to everyone. So, what better day than the 20th of February to celebrate all together the worldwide initiatives that are already happening in regards to social justice? And if you're curious to understand a bit more about what is social justice and what can we do to actually promote it all together, well, today is the right day to be part of this web conversation because together with a great panel of experts, we are going to understand what is being done in practice, how can you join, and what is the Global Coalition for Social Justice, of which the World Employment Confederation is a partner. But before we dive deeper into these topics, I would like to present to you the main speakers of today's web conversation. And please allow me to welcome Sana de Courcelles, who is Director of the Secretariat for the ILO Global Coalition for Social Justice, Manmeet Singh, who is the Vice President of the Indian Staffing Federation and CEO at First Meridian Global and Innoxers. Now, you may have noticed that he's not Suchita Dutta, who was supposed to be one of the speakers today, but he was really kind enough to jump in at the last minute for us, and we're really glad for him for doing that. And of course, it's not going to be the only surprise of today's web conversation. So stay tuned to see what more is going to happen. And last but not least, we also have Gustav van Osterom, who's Global Public Affairs Officer at Randstad. So we are going to be asking them some more questions about the topics that I mentioned earlier. And we're going to understand a bit more what their perspectives from a national federation, international organization, and corporate perspectives are. But first, I mentioned some surprises. And because it's February, it's the beginning of the year, it's a Thursday, we are going to start picking your brains with a quiz. And this quiz can be considered as a little competition. So you will see on the screen in a couple of seconds a QR code that we invite you to scan. Once you scan the QR code, you're going to be redirected to Mentimeter. You don't need to log in, you don't need to sign up. All you need to do is to create a nickname. And please be as creative as possible. It doesn't have to be your real name. It can simply be a childhood nickname or anything that you would like to have. If you're having some problems, please let us know. Again, if you just joined the conversation now, we invite you to scan the QR code. And in the meantime, while people are still entering the room and are still scanning the QR code, we just want to remind you that today's web conversation is being recorded. It's also going to be made available at a later stage to everyone. So in case you are aware of some people that could not join us today, but they still want to know more about what happened, please feel free to share the link after it's made available. Now, I see the screen. I don't see how many people have joined yet. Okay, so we have 5 players ready. Excellent. 9 players. Okay, it's gonna be good. I like it. A bit of a competition, just so you know, all of the questions are gonna be timed. You're gonna have 30 seconds max to answer. Try to answer not only as fast as you can, but also as correctly as you can, because again, it is a competition. So I do see that there's 19 participants in this web conversation. So maybe let's give it another 30 seconds for the last few people to join, and then we can start. I love all the pictures there, like the flowers, the crown, the penguin is very sustainable view, and and I absolutely love it. Right. I guess we can probably start, and we are starting now. So the first question, which concept is central to the ILO's approach to achieving social justice? You're supposed to be seeing also the possible answers on your phone. So please just indicate on your phone which answer you think represent the concept central to the ILO's approach to achieving social justice. And please be quick. Oh, Okay, before even the time ended. Excellent. 6 people got it right, which is very good because people are aware of it. And if you're not, we're gonna find out a bit more at a later stage. Not a problem. So next question. Everyone's ready. The second question is, how does the ILO define decent work? And again, the 4 answers can be seen on your screen. Well done. More than half the time. And everyone got it correct. Excellent. So I see that you're all experts of the topic already. Well, let's see if you're still good enough with the third question, because now we are moving on to what are the 4 strategic objectives outlined in the ILO's decent work agenda? Yeah, some of the answers may not be as difficult as you may think, but it's still a learning curvature. So I think some of the answers are also to make you reflect and think through. Excellent. Everyone has voted. And again, it's 100% correct answers. Well done. Now, the fourth question will be slightly trickier. So pay attention to the question. Which of the following is not a principle emphasized by the ILO's Declaration on Social Justice? This is tricky. We put it here on purpose just to test your knowledge. Ten seconds left. Everyone has voted. Well done. Well done to the 9 people that got it correct, because the right answer is indeed informal employment. But as we said at the beginning, it was a tricky question. So we also understand that it may have not been so easy to answer. So now on to the very last question. Let's start. What is the significance of the ILO's tripartite structure? And as you know, today we are joined by also an ILO representative, so we can also ask her some more questions. Well done. 9, I don't know how to do the percentage in this case, so I know that 9 out of 11 people answered correctly. And on to the results now. Oh, let's see. It's still changing. Anyone can be a winner. Gustav is the winner in this case. Well done. Well, at least you know that we have a knowledgeable panel of experts, because if Gustav managed to get most of the answers correct, it just means that he's knowledgeable on the topic. So thank you everyone for participating in this quiz. I hope you slightly enjoyed it. It was just to give you a pinch of what is about to happen. So because the questions of this quiz were mainly related of the central topic of social justice, I would like to ask Sana to take the floor with me right now, because together I would like to ask you a bit more about the concept of social justice. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the Global Coalition for Social Justice was inaugurated last year, and the World Employment Confederation is also a partner to it. So is there anything happening at the moment, any initiatives, any projects for which the participants of this web conversation may be interested in?
Thank you so much, Beatrice, and thank you to the World Employment Confederation for convening this meeting. I really enjoyed also the quiz, so congratulations for that. Indeed, social justice is at the center of the ILO mandate, but not just because we created a year back this Global Coalition for Social Justice. Social justice has been at the heart of the ILO's mandate since its creation in 1919 as part of the Treaty of Versailles. And in the aftermath of the World War, or the First World War, with the enduring conviction embodied in our motto, the ILO's motto, if you desire peace, cultivate social justice. I think this sentence is still applies, unfortunately, and will apply in the coming period of time. And since the inception of the ILO, we also we were guided by the ILO Constitution, including the Declaration of Philadelphia, the ILO Declaration on Fundamental Principles and Rights at Work, the ILO Declaration on Social Justice in 2008, and the ILO Centenary Declaration for the Future of Work in 2019, and other resolutions and important texts. And all of these texts make the case for social justice, underscoring that it makes societies and economies function more cohesively and productively by reducing poverty, hunger, inequalities, and social tensions. So all these texts, we don't have an agreed language within the UN system, the ILO, nor the academic world when it comes to social justice. And I think this is also one of the strengths of this concept. But within the ILO, all these texts that I made reference to define what we call a socially just society as one where all human beings, and I quote here our Constitution, all human beings have the right to pursue both their material well-being and their spiritual development in conditions of freedom and dignity, of economic security and equal opportunity, end of quote. So for us, the aim is to mainstream this vision within a coalition established, this global coalition for social justice, to increase and broaden the ambition for and focus on social justice, to recognize that social justice as one of the cornerstones of a renewed multilateralism. We see this coalition and this topic as a rallying point that supports national efforts by translating commitments into effective action across a range of interconnected policy areas and interventions. So this coalition, in a nutshell, is a groundbreaking initiative aimed at intensifying collective efforts to urgently address social justice deficits at national, regional, and global level. It creates a collaborative space for action, advocacy, and dialogue in which all of our partners shape individual and collective opportunities for concrete actions. I mentioned partners because so far we have gathered more than 330 partners. I will also post on the chat maybe the link to the website of the coalition where you have the full list of partners. And among them we have governments, workers and employers organizations, obviously, but we also have international organizations, regional bodies, academic institutions, international non-governmental organizations, as well as enterprises, businesses. And we have this strong conviction that we need to work together and to gather all these partners to benefit from increased visibility on this social justice dimension on their respective mandates, with a view to enhancing support and increasing investments at global, regional, and national levels. So, for example, we also consider that the ILO cannot achieve this social justice agenda alone. So one example that I'm used to give comes from my previous life within the global health sector, but effective access to healthcare and to quality education improves opportunities to access employment, while access to decent work enhances the likelihood that workers and their families will enjoy good health and adequate nutrition and will benefit from fully from quality education. So this will also support partners in their efforts towards the achievement of various SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. So we see this platform as a place where partners will have the opportunity to leverage in their activities the potential of social dialogue and tripartism as a proven means of to advance social justice. And you have heard that within the type of partners that we have, we also have employers, organizations, and businesses. We definitely consider that they play a crucial role in fostering sustained, inclusive, and economic growth, which is essential for prosperity and for the advancement of social justice. They can get involved by joining the coalition and contributing to its means of intervention through concrete activities. So for us, they might also find this place interesting to gain insights into social justice challenges worldwide, to amplify their voice and elevate their priorities into the wider global policy agenda. For us, the promotion of sustainable enterprises, productivity ecosystem, youth employment, and skills development are not only amongst ILO's priority areas of intervention, which could be scaled up through the coalition, but also would benefit from a multi-stakeholder initiative such as the coalition. And also, I would like to say that it also provides an opportunity to give more visibility to social dialogue itself and tripartism to achieve social justice, increasing awareness of decision makers worldwide and increasing their understanding, and as well as the UN agencies as well, and our sisters agencies within the UN system, about the important role of employers, organizations, and businesses, how they play in terms of negotiating labor laws and shaping labor and social policies at national and local level. Thus, for us, this coalition is a natural fit for employers, organizations, and enterprises who are pursuing a responsible business and sustainability agenda and who wish to benefit from a global multi-stakeholder platform to enhance the reach and impact of their actions. I think I'll stop there, but I wanted just to share with you why we have created this Global Social Justice Coalition, from where it comes within the ILO, and how we see a strong and crucial role for companies and work employers organizations. Over and back to you, Beatrice.
Thank you so much, Sana. And honestly, it felt like I was watching somebody so passionate about the topic that it was almost impossible to take the sight away from you. So thank you so much for sharing these insights with us. And I think that if anyone has questions afterwards, maybe on a more practical level, or is just curious to know a bit more about the Global Coalition and social justice, feel free to put your questions in the chat and we'll try to answer them throughout. So Sana, again, thank you so much for your contribution. And while you were speaking, of course, I noticed the collaborative approach among stakeholders, partners, and the different initiatives taking place on several topics. I think one of the biggest labor market challenges in, well, across the globe really, is the informal sector. And on this note, it is very nice to have with us Manmeet from the Indian Staffing Federation, because you have been carrying out a project in India to make sure that people are taken away from the informal sector and brought into the formal sector. And I know that you also have a presentation for us to have a look at. So I may disappear from the screen, but I'm still going to be nearby. And Manmeet, it's your time to shine.
Thank you so much, Beatrice, and my colleagues on the call today. And happy Social Justice Day to everybody. I'm representing Indian Staffing Federation right now on the call. And as you know, India is a huge country, and with a very big, if you can move the slides, it'll be good, Beatrice, to give them the background. If you look at the penetration of the informal workforce in the country, is about 83.4% we have informal workers in the country. It's a huge challenge, obviously, to move people into the formal economy. And when you have 1.38 billion people, and out of that, you need to really move these people into the formal economy is the most important thing for the country. By 2030, India needs 90 million to 100 million formal jobs. And it's the biggest challenge for such a large $3.5 trillion economy, which is moving towards a 5 trillion and number 3 in the world. But the formal jobs are not going at the same rate. So I think that is where I think we have, if you can if you look at the tri-party flexi that we are representing, is hardly 1.2% penetration. I'm not moving into everything, but if you look at the tri-party flexi where the staffing employment services companies come into picture, it's not very small penetration today. And it is very important for us to keeping in mind the social justice and the sustainability goals. I think it's important for us to really work on some of the agendas of getting the people into formal employment. If you can move the slides, I will keep speaking about it. Now, if you look at India, the ISF members, which is Indian Staffing Federation Organized Employment, we have created about 2.35 new formal flexi jobs in the last 4 quarters. And it is also a robust, if you look at 17.9% YOY growth, 18% growth in the industry today in India, which is fairly good after COVID time. And now we are kind of growing to 18% YOY. And then we have the total ISF members, the staffing members today, and the organized flexi staffing industries, 1.81 million formal flexi workers as we speak. And we have a quarter growth, as you can see, of 5.9% and 85,000 new jobs that has been created by the flexi employment, in staff industry here in India. If we can move on to the next slide. And if you look at this is important because 46% of this workforce received training and upskilling while being employed with a formal staffing company. It's very important. Seeing this, if you look at the investment being done by staffing organizations, all the companies, employment services companies, upskilling the people, connecting them to the live jobs is very important. I think that's where we have been missing because we were training them on skills which were not in demand. Here comes the role. Then 23% of the flexi workforce gets absorbed into the permanent employment as well, which becomes a stepping stone of success for a new student coming in or a person coming in from an informal job to a formal job, and you are getting a full-time role with all the social security, skills development. It increases awareness, increasing sustainability, learnability, and obviously it comes a big impact to employability, which is where I think we have seen this moving up. Can you move on to the next slide? Now, this is interesting because you will see that 60% of the flexi workforce today, they prefer to continue as a flexi worker with a formal staffing company because they get the entire, the health insurance, employee state insurance, you get formal provident fund, gratuity, sustainability of jobs, upskilling, and that is why people are sticking onto the jobs as compared to informal employment where you do not have social security, and obviously you don't have fair practices at work. Here you see 78% with the formal staffing companies, they are satisfied with their employment situation, which is a big achievement for the Indian organized staffing industry today, where they are. We did a survey, we got this number, very encouraging for all the companies here, and a long way to go. Can you please move on the slide? Yeah, this is very interesting because the students forming a big a portion of our talent supply chain for the jobs. By the way, at any given point of time, in the Indian Staffing Federation and the formal employment staffing companies have 30% jobs unfulfilled, because though we have a large population, but we still have 30% jobs unfulfilled. Here comes a student right from a diploma or a degree college, and he has to find a stepping stone. And we witnessed a 10% YOY growth in the students joining the formal staffing companies, and obviously creating more formal jobs as a stepping stone for their first jobs. They might be working, on some part-time assignments, some assignments where they are taking up project-based roles, but it becomes a great, I would say, force to give them the employability skills, making them used to the learnability on the job, and ultimately get them into a formal full-time role. And I think that really made a lot of big difference here. Can you move on, Beatrice? Next slide. Yeah. So India, if you look at the staffing workforce penetration, $18 billion market size, penetration is still at 1.28%. We have a long way to go, considering the fact that we have great, a very, very high level of population, about 500 plus million people in the workforce ready to work, and the penetration rate is still 1.28. So I would say that there is a long way to go, and a lot of things have to be done. A lot of initiatives have to be taken. Our awareness sessions at academia, awareness sessions at the government. We are every month, our Indian Staffing Federation is being called for various government level interactions in policy making, as well as even this time, for the first time, we were invited by the chief economic advisor and the pre-budget discussion and the budget discussion on how we can have an impact in the country by creating more formal jobs. So I think we'll touch base on the last slide when I go there. Can you just go to the next slide, please? Okay, the India plans to be $8 trillion economy, obviously $8 trillion economy, and look at the GDP share. We are planning to get to from today we have 3.7 trillion to a 5 trillion economy, 1% of GDP share, and then going into into a $8 trillion economy, 1% GDP share in staffing companies. That'll be a great move once we move towards that goal. Can you just move on, Beatrice, on to the next slide? This is what I was talking about. This is the chief economic advisor in the parliament. We are standing with the chief economic advisor. This time, it was for the first time we were covered into the country's economic survey, and we got a good representation of the sectoral distribution of flexi workforce in the country. We also got the flexi job market in India, which was covered and recognized by the government of India, where we are now being called for all consultations with the Confederation of Indian Industries, as well as Indian Staffing Federation being a part of labor ministry meetings and national skill development meetings. So I think that made a significant difference, and we have got some good results in the latest budget release also. Can you move on to the next slide, please? Now, this is very important. We did sign a very important project recently, where we actually signed with the National Skill Development Corporation, and we chose certain aspirational districts, and we were given to actually move people from these aspirational districts where the employment opportunities are very, very low, to move them to formal employment. In this, we had to really go deep dive into our villages, and staffing companies were giving this assignment. And as a POC concept, we were able to bring and employ many people by a skilling-led employment initiative. That was very encouraging, and now the government has given us another big project. We just got a confirmation last week. Suchita told me that we have got a confirmation that we are signing another big project where the staffing organizations will be working with the government, and we'll be moving people in formal employment in the rural economy, and as well as helping the government to plan the migration of talent, migration of talent from where we have a very big talent divide in the country where the jobs are, as well as we need to move people in the sunrise industries with formalized employment enablers. By this, government has launched the latest budget with an employment linked incentives to be given by our intervention, by our consistent discussions. We've got this opportunity where we can transform lives for more than 20 million new workforce, and the government has recognized this by incentivizing employers for new formal workforce creation in the country. And that's a very big boost to the manufacturing industry, sunrise sectors, and obviously it also gives us certain financial support to mobilize candidates from the rural areas and bridge the talent divide. So this is what I would like to say right now, Beatrice, and we can take any questions later about.
Well, thank you so much, Manmeet. It was fascinating, and to know that, like in India, such a huge project is taking place. And let me tell you, because when you were describing the project, it sounded as if you were summarizing the decent work agenda. There is social protection, the social protections, workers' rights, skilling, upskilling, training, making sure that people work in a formal sector. So it was just like listening to a summary of what Sana also mentioned at the beginning of the conversation. So it was super insightful. And I can also see that in the meantime, the chat is booming with updates, especially on the practical activities that are currently happening at ILO level, especially within the Global Coalition for Social Justice. So it may be that we also need to keep an eye out on the chat in terms of practicalities to know a bit more about it. But we had received in the past a question that before passing on the floor to Gustav, I would like to ask you, Manmeet, if you allow me, because I
Sure.
think it's very relevant to the work that you're currently doing in India. And the question was, how does the different classes, influence or impact the marginalized communities, and what can be done to address this issue? And
Yeah,
I
this is
think it's very important for your presentation. So please, if you have any
yes.
insight.
So I think one of the big goals and what we saw in this 10,000 plus people getting jobs through formal staffing companies, and this was a one of its kind project ever signed with the government coming with us and identifying the where we need to go. And actually, we went to certain districts in India where you do not have a formal employment and the jobs don't are not there, and there are marginalized communities living on to less than, we call it Manrega here. That's basically a very, very low level of money given to them to sustain their lives in the rural areas. And obviously, it doesn't give them the social security, it doesn't give them health. And these marginalized communities, when we went into these aspirational districts, you would not believe me, we went to the villages and we had to coach our recruiters across the country with these districts. We had to coach parents. We had to go to local village community leaders. We had to explain them how this job can change the whole family's situation and move them out of poverty, and how they will all be covered under social security, health security, health insurance. And they've never heard of these kind of things in some of these areas. These are tribal community areas. They are rural upliftment kind of areas where we do not have even roads, some of the places actually. And then with the country investing into the PLI schemes, where we are setting up manufacturing across the country in tier 2, tier 3 towns, it is the best thing to do to get them out into, and coach them and bring them into the formal job. By the way, we have recently also updated a national education policy in the country where we are able to get the people, give them a diploma or a degree while they're working in a formal employment. This was not happening in the past. Now the government has also taken some of our inputs, and today a kid coming out of the 10th standard can go and get a job in an automobile manufacturing company and can get a diploma. Uplifting of marginalized communities, making their life better, and the classes which are all never focused on because the jobs never travel there, giving them access to move to a city or a state, and giving them that initial small amount can actually make their entire life transform, with their families also coming into. One kid going into formal employment changes the whole life of the entire family, and it really takes a lot of burden out of the villagers. When they see about 30-40 kids getting formal jobs, they automatically try and get more people out into formal employment. So I think that is what I would like to say. Great work has been done in this case, where we did go to deep roots of the country and got these people jobs, and a very, very happy families, I would say. And thanks to our Indian Staffing Federation partners and the Government of India, specifically National Skill Development Corporation, to give us this opportunity, and also renewing the project for this coming year.
Well, Manmeet, it's a beautiful work. It's a huge work, and I wish you the best of luck for the continuation, because it's just the beginning, really. So there's gonna be many more years in the future. Am I frozen? Okay, no, sorry. Apologies. I thought I was frozen for a second. So I wish you the best of luck for this
Thank you so
project.
much.
And I'm sure that, again, if anyone has questions more specifically on the activities that you're carrying out, they can reach out to you. So
Absolutely.
Thank you. And so we've seen different perspectives at the moment in relation to social justice. And I think one view that we're still missing is the corporate perspective. So I'm inviting Gustav to join me here, exactly. And of course, Randstad is also one of the hundreds of partners of the Global Coalition for Social Justice. So what we would be curious to know about a bit more is really, why did you join? Why did Randstad join the Global Coalition? Are you carrying out any projects in light of social justice? And do you have any expectations for the future? And if so, can we be cheeky enough to ask you what they are?
Of course, Beatrice. Good day to everyone, and thank you for making the time as well to be with us today. Thank you, Sana and Mamit, as well, for your insightful and important presentations. My name is Gustav van Oostrom. I'm responsible of Global Public Affairs at Randstad. And my objective today, as Beatrice mentioned, is to walk you through why Randstad joined the Coalition for Social Justice, what some of our case studies look like from the markets in which we operate, as well as what we expect of the coalition in the time to come. Next slide, please. Now, the aspiration for social justice, as Sana has mentioned, has been on the agenda of the ILO for a long, long time. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, it became arduous to deliver on the development of social justice. We know the world of work experienced significant change, technological innovation, the rise of the platform economy, high inflation rates, increasing levels of poverty, demographic shifts in society, and climate change. And we know only 47% of the population group is covered by at least one social protection benefit. Very few people know and realize that today, still in 2025, more than 2 billion people worldwide are in the informal economy with limited rights at work or access to social protection. To translate this is more than 60% of the world's working population. Manmeet mentioned this in his presentation. If I remember the figure correctly, 83.4% of workers in India working in informality. The quest for social justice at the very heart of the ILO constitutional mandate goes beyond the world of work, I would say, to intensify the efforts to accelerate the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, as well as its 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals, targets, and sub-targets. So thankfully and timely, especially on this day, on the topic of social justice, I would say the Global Coalition for Social Justice was launched in close consultation with ILO tripartite constituents in November 2023. So long story short, next slide, please. Why did Randstad decide to join? Mostly for three reasons. One, global advocacy. We have new ways of working and new ways of organizing work that pose challenges as well for labor markets. Without advocacy, it's not clear how we can ensure access to social protection systems for talent. So in the view of Randstad, the question of how to organize labor markets holistically in order to make them more inclusive, sustainable, and future-proof has never been more urgent. Two, knowledge sharing and best practices. If you cannot measure what you do, then when are we successful? The coalition, in our view, can serve as a platform to monitor and collect analysis and data on elements and questions like how many transitions are there to formality? How many people are in formal employment? How is the access to social protection and social security systems changing? How many people are being up and reskilled to productive forms of employment? And number three, immediate and tangible action. We also joined because we, amongst many other colleagues probably in this meeting today, are convinced that we can contribute to the priorities of the coalition via our day-to-day practical and tangible impact in our regions with workers and clients every day. Combining theory with practice is a prerequisite for success, we would say. Next slide, please. Now, this slide is more of a visual representation of how we have categorized decent work at Randstad. In short, we call it fair and quality work for all. It's the name also of our position paper that we launched last year. We define decent work into several components based on the ILO fundamental principles and rights at work. So they cover 1, fair and quality productive employment, 2, income and access to social security, and 3, learning, which covers both up and reskilling as well as lifelong learning. Now, each of these components cannot do without the other, and it's the interaction between these 3 components that typifies the daily work via Randstad. Now, in the middle of the visual here, I have 3 case studies that I brought with me today. So let's please move over to the next slide to look at the first case study. Our colleagues at Randstad Japan have this program. It's called the Randstad Talent Training Program. Our talent working via Randstad in Japan signaled to us a few years ago that they wanted to think more long-term about their careers, but that they didn't know how. So our colleagues in Japan set up modules: career planning, skills development, and work experience. Our colleagues in the branches provide workers with career support through notebooks to discuss their career development, to provide access to soft and hard skill training, and introductions to potential new jobs that talent can get access to in the future. In addition, workers now also get access to programs, language programs, and 113 different training sessions on their soft skills, which significantly boosts their chances of their personal development, but also their long-term career opportunities. Next slide, please. Now, some of you may also be familiar with the TENT Partnership. We call it the TENT Partnership for Refugees and Migrants. The TENT Partnership basically works with businesses to develop and implement commitments to support refugees through hiring refugees directly, integrating refugees into supply chains, supporting refugee entrepreneurs, and delivering services. Now, at Randstad, we have an official ambition to become the world's most specialized and equitable talent company. So we're passionate about creating an equitable culture here at Randstad and sustainable core values that reflect our very founding from 65 years ago. Now, our commitment to the TENT Partnership was to touch the work lives of 50,000 refugees in 3 years, of which 10,000 up and reskilled, as well as 40,000 placed in decent work. Within just 1 year, we supported 39,870 refugees and 891 migrants with decent work and access to social security. This happened predominantly in Canada, Argentina, Mexico, and many, many countries in Europe. Next slide, please. Now, lastly, I brought a case study from our colleagues in Belgium. It's called Randstad in Portugal. We know specifically the logistics profession remains a massive bottleneck with vacancies in Belgium, as logistics and port companies really struggle to find talent. Now, to close the gap of clerk profiles, we partnered with Portugal, which is a training center that offers port-related and logistics training courses since 2007. Now, talent can follow training programs of 10 days. They can visit the work sites, prepare for a job in a sector where we know sustainable employment is guaranteed. Now, we've reskilled 1,600 talents for a job in the logistics sector with this program. Over 80% of workers started working as logistical clerks after the training. Over 90% of them found employment within 1 month of training. And funnily enough, 1 in 5 workers was offered a job during the training, and 1 in 10 even landed a job before starting the training itself. Next slide, please. So what do we expect from the Global Coalition for Social Justice? Going back to the beginning, 1, active discussions on the mission and advocacy that's coming from the coalition. 2, continued data and knowledge sharing amongst members of the coalition. Now, a minor suggestion here, and maybe it's too early, but it could also be very, very useful to incorporate the data that the coalition has, that we could be willing and able to share as background information for the upcoming general discussion on innovative approaches to tackling informality and and promoting transitions towards formality to promote decent work during the upcoming 113th session of the International Labour Conference. And 3, if we may, a depository where we can start to track our progress to see how members, but maybe also non-members, are already contributing to this concept of social justice and the SDGs. Thank you very much.
Well, Gustav, thank you. You just took us on a trip around the world, basically, like by showing us all these different projects happening at Randstad level. So thank you. Thank you for the overview that you've just given us. And 3 seems to be the magic number for Randstad, the 3 priorities, 3 expectations. So, of course, as the World Employment Confederation, we look forward to collaborating with Randstad and all the other partners of the Global Coalition for Social Justice. So thank you for this. Now, as we are approaching the end of this very interesting conversation, I must say, there is one last thing that we would like to talk about. Because maybe you've been asking yourself, well, what is actually WEC doing in this regard? We heard different views, different perspectives, but we are members of the World Employment Confederation. What are they doing about it? And well, we can answer right now with what we're planning on doing and what we are already promoting. So as you may be aware, in April, we are going to be holding our annual WEC conference in South Africa. And we actually partnered with 3 different non-profit organizations that you can see here on the slide. Now, the aim of this collaboration with the non-profit organizations was to still find a link between employment, so making sure that employment opportunities were provided, were created, while at the same time also promoting other goals. For example, sustainability with the circular economy project at TCB, or for example, biodiversity and making sure that natural habitats do not get lost with SANCOB. And also with the education of children and women and making sure that they can find better job opportunities afterwards with ECD. So this is just a very broad overview of these projects for which we're more than happy to give you more details. And of course, because they're very close to our heart, we would be really glad if you could donate as little as €5 towards any of these projects. €5 may not mean a lot. It could actually be a Starbucks coffee nowadays for us, but it will make a huge difference for any of these projects. So to do that, you can simply scan the QR code, and it's going to be not even the last time that I ask you to scan a QR code, because it's going to be another one at the very end. But if your thumb is not tired yet, please use your phone camera, scan the QR code, and you're going to be redirected to the page with more information about the projects and how to donate. So this pretty much concludes the broad overview that we had about social justice, what it means, and the Global Coalition. In the meantime, while we were still talking about some of the other topics of conversation, I saw that in the chat, Sana, you're amazing. You provided so much information. So I just want to give you back the floor to maybe say a few words on the activities and the projects that you promoted in the chat.
Thank you, Beatrice, and thank you for the 2 panelists that expressed very interesting views and also very concrete activities on informality and on the approach of Randstad, very concrete also on the ground to move the needle towards social justice. So this is amazing. Yes, I wanted to share information about what we call the 14 key interventions. You know, this coalition has been established after the vision of the Director General that we need to foster our own mandate and also to foster our collaboration and our ability to partner with others make it happen when it comes to social justice. But from the beginning of the story, he said, we need to move the needle together. We need to co-own this agenda. We need to co-shape this agenda. So this is why when we opened the doors of the coalition early 2024, we started a large consultation among the partners of the coalition. We have more than 330 partners so far within the coalition, and we organized a series of webinars, discussions, the forum of the coalition, and other ways to hear the voices of the different partners. And we defined not only the three means of interventions that are so important and mutually reinforcing each other, which is action. We are not a talk show, but an action-oriented initiative, but also the need to communicate and advocate and to share knowledge, experiences, so that we benefit from the experiences of the others, but also very concrete intervention. So I can tell you that you are the first group that I share this list of key interventions. We issued this list officially last Thursday, among all our partners. And now we are moving from the year of consultation to the year of implementation. So we have called our partners to express interest within this list of key interventions to one or more key intervention. We don't want all partners to focus on all key interventions, but to focus on what resonates concretely with their own mandate and priorities. And then we will have this core group of partners under each of the key interventions, and we will have direct contribution for a concrete collaboration, but also what we call indirect collaboration, because we know that some partners will be willing to advance their own agenda and activities to support the initiative without being part of the joint intervention. But we don't want the coalition to be known. We want the partners of the coalition to be celebrated, because they are the ones who are delivering on the ground when it comes to social justice. So I stop here, Beatrice.
Sana, once again, thank you so much for these insights. We're absolutely honored to be among the first people to hear about these topics, these priorities and the initiatives. And I'm sure that the World Employment Confederation will definitely collaborate towards one of these projects. And I'm sure also some of the WEC members that are partners to the Global Coalition. So we really look forward to, well, this year, which will also see probably another summit on the Global Coalition for Social Justice at the International Labour Conference in Geneva. So we may see each other there in Geneva, I guess. We are 7 minutes until the end of the work conversation. And as I mentioned earlier, I would like for you to get your cameras ready again, because we're going to ask you for one last thing. You know that for us, feedback is always important. We hope that you enjoy this web conversation, but we're always open to improve ourselves. So I believe now Aurélie will share a QR code that again is going to redirect you to Mentimeter, but now you're pros on Mentimeter, you know exactly how to use it. So, and it's just a question in this case, so it's not going to be a competition. You can take as much time as you want to reply, but we would really appreciate your answers. Now, I don't know if we need to click on the next slide for the attendees to be able to answer. But we can also send you the QR code afterwards so that we can get your input. And in the meantime, while I hope that everyone managed to get the QR code, I also want to remind you of our next web conversation. So almost on a monthly basis, the World Employment Confederation organizes web conversations of 1 hour. The next one is taking place on Thursday, the 20th of March, at 2 p.m. European Central Time. And in this case, we are going to navigate and get a deeper insight into the economic report that we created at the World Employment Confederation. So with a very catchy title of On the Edge, Are Labor Markets Hanging Off the Cliff? Well, if you want to know the answer, you have to register on Eventbrite and join us on the 20th of March. In the meantime, I really just want to thank all the speakers again, everyone for their attention, for the cooperation. I really enjoyed this web conversation. And if you do have any other questions in between now and the future, you can always reach out to the WEC head office. You can reach out to me, to Aurelie, to Michael, to anyone. And once again, we appreciate everyone that managed to find the time to join us today. Thank you to the speakers, and we'll see you next time on the 20th of March. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks.